Okay, so hello students. Today we will be demonstrating the load balancing and auto scaling feature of the AWS, and basically see how it is done. So hopefully my internet is working. Okay, so this is the lab 6 of the which comes as part of AWS Educate program within the Clouds Practitioner certification. So this lab is which is part of that certification. So scale and load balance your architecture. So we have already gone through what elastic load balancing is and auto scaling is, right? So this seems to be the diagram. So I can see there's a VPC which is spanning 2 availability zones, and we have created this kind of VPC in a VPC practical, except that in this VPC we have 2 RDS databases, right? It is so this is a primary one, and this is a backup copy. There's a web server which is hosted in the second subnet, right? It's a public subnet. There's an internet gateway through which internet will be accessed, and there's a NAT gateway through which the private subnet instances can access the internet. Okay, so we start with this infrastructure, means this is what is going to be given to us when the lab begins. So we are going to have a VPC already existing. We are already going to have 2 subnets. We are going to have a web server running, and we are going to have 2 private subnets with a database on that. So we are going to have this when the lab is started. So what is the final state of infrastructure is what we want to achieve. So we want to introduce a application load balancer with a security group applied on it. So whatever security group applies on it will be applied to all the instances also. And then we create a auto scaling group in which we define targets. The targets will be the web instance, right? 2 web instance which is going to be accessing the database. So this line, the dotted line, is something that we don't do, but it seems to be already in place. It basically, when the primary goes down, it will switch to the secondary database, so your database will always be available. So we are going to introduce, so the difference between the 2 diagrams is we are going to introduce a application load balancer inside the VPC. Then we are going to define an auto scaling group, right? And so the auto scaling group seems to be distributed between the 2 availability zones. Is that allowed? So maybe, I don't know whether I was wrong in this. I thought the groups were always tied to the availability zone. Okay, so this is what we want to achieve. Okay, so let's look at it. So first we need, in order to auto scale to create new instances, it needs an AMI image. So the first step, I think we are going to create an image for ourselves from the existing instances that is running. So let's see. So services EC2, click instances, make sure it is running, then you create an EMI based on this instance. Okay, select and give the name, select web server 1, image, create image, and give the image name as web server AMI. So this image is going to be used to instantiate a new instance by the auto scaling group later. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I need to start the lab first. So as I said, when we start the lab, it will programmatically create all the VPC and the public subnets and the private subnets. Lab status. Okay. Okay, so the lab is ready. It took quite a bit of time for the lab to set up. So now let's go ahead and do the first step of creating the AMI image, which the autoscale is going to use while it is launching new instances. So let's log in by clicking AWS, and this will sign us in to the management console. Okay, so what do we do next? We click EC2 in the left, click instances, make sure the status is okay, click web server 1, actions, create image, and name should be web server AMI and description should be lab AMI for web server. Okay, so I click EC2. Right, so there is one instance running. So okay, that's web server 1, that's correct, and the status is 2 by 2. That's right, and so it's selected. So now I go ahead in the action, and I need to create an AMI, right? Status check, select actions, image, click image and create image. I don't see that. It's selected, right? Then I need to, oh yeah, here there is an image and there's a create image, right? The image name will be what? Will be web server AMI. Okay, so there's a web server running on that instance, so we are creating a copy of that. So later we'll use this copy to create new machines. Description is lab AMI for web server. Okay, lab AMI for web server. Okay, so I guess everything else remains the same. So I go ahead and create an image and close it. Okay. Oops, what happened? I shifted. Okay, so create image request received, any snapshots, backing, so that's okay, close. Okay, what is the next step? We need to create a load balancer. So how do we create a load balancer? We go in the left pane and click load balancer, click create load balancer. Okay, then under application load balancer, click create. Okay, and create it using the name lab ELB. Select lab VPC, select both the subnets. Okay, So application load balancer should be running in the public subnets, because I think that's where the web servers will be running and needed, and that will be configured for internet access. That's why we need to launch it in public subnets. Okay, so in the left pane, load balancers, here it is. Okay, so the page is loaded, so let's click create a load balancer, and I need to click application load balancer, right? Create. So while it is configuring, let's read. So it will ask me for the name. I'll give the name lab ELB, the VPC and the subnets. Click next, configure security settings. You can ignore the settings. You can select the existing security group. Okay, we'll at least do till this step, and then here there's an auto configure routing. So routing configures where to send the request that are sent to the, you will create a target group that will be used by auto scaling. For name, enter lab group. So let's do it till this step at least. Okay, so configure load balancer, basic configuration, listener 80, port 80, VPC should be lab VPC, right? Select both the subnets. So this is availability zone 1 and 2. I need to select the public subnets, which is this public subnet, and I need to select this public subnets, right? Then I click next, configure. Oh, the name, no, we have not given the name, lab ELB, right? That's the name of my load balancer. Okay, lab ELB is the name of my load balancer. Load balancer protocol is HTTP load balancer port 80. Okay, and VPC is lab VPC, and this load balancer is going to balance between the two public subnets. So I was wrong that load balancer is going to manage only in the single availability zone. It can span multiple availability zone, but it has to be in the same region. I think I've done that by mistake. I have probably said that in my previous lecture. So remember that you can configure a load balancer across availability zones within the same region. Okay, click next. So improve your load balancer security. Your load balancer is not using any secure listener. Okay, we don't need to do anything on this. So here we need to select an existing web security group. So we need to deselect this, and this is a security group which is enables HTTP access. Click next, and we need to configure, we need a routing, right? So for the ELB, so we need to create a target group. Okay, so in the target group for the ELB, what is the name of the group? It should be lab group. Okay, so let's lab. So remember, this lab group is the target group for my load balancer. target type, so I don't need to select change anything else, but the target type is instance, not IP or lambda. Protocol is HTTP, and yeah, do I click register targets? Yeah, so I click next, register targets. Right, in this, what do I do? Your auto scaling will automatically register instance as targets later in the lab. Okay, so we don't need to do anything over here. Later auto scaling will add the instance in this particular target group automatically. We just click review and we move ahead, create. So load balancer is created. I have a group called lab group, target group, right, and close this. So your load balancer is created. Okay, what is the next step? The load balancer will show the state of provisioning. There is no need to wait until it is ready. Please continue with the next task. Okay, so now we need to configure the autos, create a launch configuration. Okay, so this configuration is going to be used to launch the new instance. So how do we do that? We going to go in the left pane, click launch, then click create launch, then select the AMI web server AMI, select the t3.micro instance. If you have launched the lab in US East, which is Miami in US East, then select the t2.micro. Okay, and then you save the settings using the name lab config. Make sure you enable CloudWatch monitoring for this configuration. Okay, so in the left I see auto scaling, and auto scaling launch configuration. Right, so let's click create launch configuration. So we are going to use our AMI which we created in the first step, which is web server AMI. Select, right, and t2.micro, right, and that is what I need to select for my region, right, and then make sure configure this. Do I need to click anything? Yeah, click next, configure details. Okay, and then here I need to give the name of my launch, and so this is my lab configuration launch, which has my web server EMI, and enable CloudWatch detail monitoring. So this will give me all the alarms. Okay, and after this click next, add storage. I don't need to do anything except the default basically. Make sure then you add the web security group, right, review, and click create. Select key pair, acknowledge, create, and you will create an auto scaling group. Okay, this is the next step. So this is the launch configuration step we are still in. So click next, add storage, accept whatever it is there. This is a 8 GB storage. Click configure security group. Okay, and I think I need to use the existing security group, which is web security group, right, this one, right. So this will allow me HTTP access. And do I need to do anything else? I just need to move ahead, review. Okay, so yeah, this is my launch configuration. Anytime an autoscale is going to create new instance, it is going to use this configuration. You're going to use a web server AMI which has a web server copy, and it is going to create a storage with 8 GB with the configuration name is lab config. Purchasing option is on demand. Okay, so click create configuration. I think I need to choose an existing key pair, right? I don't need to. Okay, I acknowledge and create launch configuration screen. Okay, so my configuration is done. It is asking me whether I want to create a auto scaling group using this launch configuration. which is, yes, I do want to go ahead and create an auto scaling group. So the group name will be lab auto scaling group with group size will be 2 instances. So it will start with 2 instances and it will run inside lab VPC. And this auto scaling group, it says select the subnet, private subnet, one and private subnet 2. This will launch EC2 instance in private subnets across both availability zones. Okay. Okay, so the auto scaling group name is lab auto scaling group. So lab auto scaling group, and this will use lab config launch configuration. Minimum number of instances should be 2, and VPC should be lab VPC, which is mine over here. And subnets, it has asked me to, so I don't need to do anything. In subnet, select private subnet 1 and 2. But oh, here it is, private subnet 1. Okay, and oh, I can add one more, and private subnet 2. So the instances are going to be created in private subnets within the same VPC, but they're going to have HTTP access. Okay, so next, what do I do next? Expand advanced detail. Make sure you can receive traffic from one or more load balancer, and target group should be lab group. Okay, so this is where we are connecting the load balancer with the auto scale. So it says go in the advanced details, which is right here, right? So it will be receive traffic from one or more load balancers. Okay, and target group should be lab group. Okay, so it's already here. Okay, and monitoring, you should enable CloudWatch detail monitoring. Okay, so where is that? It's here. Okay, enable CloudWatch to monitor my auto scaling instance, and this will capture 1 minute interval metrics, which will allow auto scale to react quickly to changing usage pattern. Okay, click next, configure scaling policies. So this is where we have connected, we have creating a group and connecting it to a load balancer, and target group is lab group, and we are enabling the traffic from one or more load balancers. And just remember, we have created a load balance in public subnet. So, and the auto scale instances seems to be in the private subnet. So this is something interesting, different that I'm seeing. Okay, let's go ahead and configure the scaling policy. Okay, it says use scaling policies to adjust the capacity of the group between 2 and 6. Okay, so scale between 2 and 6. Okay, and anything else I need to, so make sure the average GPU utilization is not beyond 60. This tells auto scaling to maintain that utilization. Okay, then click next, configure notification. So okay, so this is where we have given the range of instances 2 to 6, and if the CPU utilization goes beyond 60, then it will create a new instance using that lab configuration, launch configuration, in which we have a AMI. Okay, so auto scaling can send notification when the scaling event takes place, you can use the default settings, but there is no default setting over here. Okay, I will not configure that. So click next, configure tags. In the tag, give the name lab instance. Okay, so name. So every time an instance is launched using this auto scale, you can know that it is going to create using this name, lab instance. So lab instance means it's an instance created by this auto scaling group. Okay, so click review and click auto scaling group. Okay, so that's so create auto scaling group. Okay, successfully created, and close. Okay, so I created the ELB, created a launch configuration, created the auto scaling group, connected the auto scaling group to the load balancer. Now everything should be running, I guess. Verify that the load balancer is working. Okay, how do we verify? Click instances. You should see two new instances named lab instance. So lab instance is remember is a name given in the auto scaling group. So let's go ahead and look in the instances whether these instances are running. So remember, we had one instance initially, which was the web server, and then in the auto scaling we said we need at least two instances. So this was there already initially, web server 1. This instance has been created, this two instances has been created by the auto scaling policies, and it is using the same configuration. It is running. Does it give? It's initializing. Okay, so it is just created, and soon are we going to get these instances were created in private subnets, right? So is it going to be have the public IP? I'm not sure, but the instances are running. Okay, in the left now navigation, click target groups, click targets. Okay, two lab instances target should be listed for this target group. Okay, so we had created a group called lab group, right, in the which is configured for with the load balancer. So let's look at targets. Where is targets? So I can see target groups. So yeah, so I can see lab group is there, and what else do I need to do? This is my group. Where is the instances? Click the targets tab, okay, which is here. So let me scroll this or drag this up. So this is the lab group, and I want to see the targets of this. Which are the targets? So it says I need to see two instances, which I am seeing, and it is running in 1B and 1A. The target is currently passing health checks. Okay, it's checking whether it's healthy. Availability zone, this target count one target is running in 1A and one target is running in 1B, and both of them are healthy. Okay, so this is good. And then what do we do? Yeah, we in the left navigation click load balancer. In the lower panel, copy the DNS name and test it using the through the web browser. Okay, so load balancer. So when I'm accessing the load balancer IP address, I should get that website which is running in the auto scaling group. So that's where my website is running on the auto scaling instances, right? It's not on the load balancer. But if the website comes up, then it means my web server is running on that instance, right? So it says I need to copy this website. This is a link to the load balancer, and the load balancer will link to the web server instances. So if I enter this, I should get my website. Right, so the web server is running and the page has come up and it is giving some data. That's so the web server is running. Now we need to test whether scaling works. Okay, you can create auto scaling group with a minimum of 2 instances. Okay, in services menu, click CloudWatch. In the left, click alarms, not alarm. Okay, 2 alarms will be displayed. They were created automatically by the auto scaling group. This will automatically keep the average CPU close to 60%. Yeah, we did configure that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We need to select what? CloudWatch from where? In services. Okay, so let's go into services. This is the first time we are going to bring up CloudWatch, and let's see what all it's watching. Okay, so my CloudWatch dashboard is up here, but we don't see any alarms, right? Do we? We have selected alarms. It says 1 is insufficient and 1 is okay. What does that mean? It's loading the alarms. Okay, so here I see 2 alarms, right? Okay, so this means that enough data is not collected to still decide whether this is okay or not. So we need to keep collecting data for some time, and then it will start tracking the status. So this is like initialization. So this is okay, state is okay, and this says auto scaling group alarm high. It's tracking lab auto scaling group. Okay, and this is also tracking lab auto scaling group. This is tracking condition is greater than 60 for 3 data points within 3 minutes, and this is tracking CPU utilization for less than 54 for 15 data points within 15 minutes. We didn't add this, right? We added only this, greater than 60. Why this is added, I'm not sure. This alarm is okay. This is what we wanted to test. This is what we had configured. So 2 alarms will be displayed. They were created automatically. Okay, please follow the steps if you do not see the alarms. Okay, I need to follow the steps if I do not see the alarm, but I do see the alarm, so I don't need to change anything. right? Actions, nothing. So what do I do? Okay, let's see. So in the left navigation pane, click alarms, verify. You can see 2 alarms, yes. Click the OK alarm, which has alarm high in its name, right? Okay, and then do what with that? First click the OK alarm. Okay, first let me click the OK alarm, which is this alarm high, right? Greater than 60. Okay, and then you will now tell the application to perform calculations that should raise the CPU level. The OK indicates that the alarm has not been triggered. Okay, it is alarm for greater than 60, which will add this. Now return to the browser. I'll click OK. I think I need to select this, right? Click the OK alarm. Okay, so I'll just click OK. Now I'm seeing the tracking it. Okay, so it's giving me a graph, and where am I? CPU utilization 0.167. Okay, that's low, and then it is 0 all this time. So it seems like I'm going to go ahead and create a, increase the load. I'm going to do a load test, and this will cause the alarm to generate high loads. The browser page should automatically refresh so that all instances in auto scaling group will generate load. Do not close this tab. In less than 5 minutes, the alarm low should change to OK, and alarm high status should change to alarm. You can click refresh. You can see alarm, wait until this, and in the left you can also look at the number of instances. So basically we are going to increase the load and see how things will work now. This is automatically going to send lot of requests, and then we are going to test if okay, the CPU load is 100%, so that should have caused an alarm over here. Details, under highs auto refresh in 5 seconds. I will, but as the alarm been raised, do I need to refresh this page? Okay, so this should create the auto scale instances also, right? Just wanted to see the alarms. Okay, this is insufficient, this is okay, still okay. Okay, this is refreshing. If the load had increased, there should have been an alarm, right? Okay, so both of them have become okay. because there is enough data points. So greater than 60, okay, and now both are okay. So let's look how many instances. Let's look at the instances. Where are the instances? So let's open this in the new tab where we are going to watch the number of instances. Let's refresh this. The load had increased. Did it get back to normal? Because the status is okay on the back end, so this should look normal. Auto refresh under high CPU load. So there are 3 instances running. So this is a alarm low. This is a low alarm. I want to see the high alarm, right? That's where the alarm had increased. So this is the one where alarm must have gone high. The graph should show me at least one data point that went above 60, because it says it went above. So there are 2 instances running. So yeah, you can see, so here is the alarm which went high above 60 to 100, and then it's still at 100. Why? It has to come down to 60, right? I've said you can create 6 instances. There are only 2 instances. Okay, great. It is trying to start new instances. That's beautiful. And now the load should decrease. So this is a good test, but it takes time. I'm not sure because of the internet speed, but it did notice the alarm went high. It did create an instance, and now everything should be back to normal. The load should come down because we are sharing it with 4 instances. Okay, all are running. How does the CloudWatch look? The load should come down, right? The state says it's in alarm. One is become okay, so the instances are running. So there are 4 instances running now. This fellow, why doesn't he refresh? Oh, it's auto refreshing, and it says the current load is 100%. Okay, so this looks okay, status, and this is an alarm, which is this fellow, right? It's still in the alarm state, Is it coming down? So the metrics is, it says CPU utilization greater than 60 for 3 data points within 3 minutes. Like, is the metrics data takes time, around a minute or so, I think. That's why we do not see the metrics immediately. Everything is running okay. The utilization still shows at 100%. Why? Let's go ahead and click the alarms again. Okay, this alarm eye is still in alarm. Does it take time to reflect? Wait until alarm high enters alarm state, which is yes. The services menu, click instances. More than 2 instances labeled lab instance should now be running. Right, there are around 4. Then in this task we will it doesn't tell to wait, for things to get normal. Why? The new instances were created by auto scaling in response to the alarm. Okay. Terminate and terminate the web server. 1 actions instance state to terminate, and then the lab will complete. But I was hoping this would get back to normal, and because the load is shared between 4, we still had around, we could have still created another 2 instances if required. So it is not the problem of the load should not be that much. So let's wait and see. I'll wait. Okay, so now suddenly the number of instances has reached to max. It has created 6 instances, and the CloudWatch, the utilization did come down, but is not come down below the alarm state as yet, even though 6 instances are running. So does this means the number of instances, oh, this is initializing, it's trying to, it created the instances, and let's see the load will the CPU, everything will come back to normal. It's trying to come back to normal, but, and it has created the maximum number of instances that was possible, which is 6. So we will wait and watch for some. Okay, so this everything is running now, but let's see if it can this load was too much, or so the idea, so this is the way you can check whether the configuration that you have done is good enough or not. So 2 to 6 probably may not. I kind of refreshed this load. I clicked this load test almost like 2 or 3 times, so I'm not sure if I increased the load by mistake. I shouldn't have done that. This auto refreshes the percentage, so maybe for that reason there's a load, too much of load, 3 times more load I had clicked. So every time I click the load, it kinds of sends a big list of HTTP requests, and that loads up. If I click 3 times, means 3 times the more load I have sent. So this graph should ideally come down only if the current number of instances can manage the load. So I'll wait. Okay, so here we see it did come down, because this is where probably our instances, it was at 63, but then suddenly it went high, then it came down, and then it suddenly went high. So maybe my number of instances are not enough to manage the load. It doesn't come below 60. So this is how you can track. You can look at the metrics and decide. So this was number of requests is around 12, and then it came to less than between 5 and 10. It's still an alarm. So anyway, so this is how you configure everything and monitor. And ideally I would increase the number of instances in the auto scaling configuration, and then test this. So at least 10 instances I would I will configure from 2 to 10, or maybe not 2 to 10, maybe 4 to 10, just to make sure it never it always below 60% utilization. So that's it for the lab. So let's go ahead and terminate our instance, web server 1. Right, where are we? Here. So this utilization is still at 100% almost. EC2 dashboard, no, I just want to go ahead and the 7 instances running, right? Okay, select web server 1 and terminate. Yeah, okay, so this will be terminated, right? Do I need to do anything else? No, I just need to go ahead and click end lab, and that's it. So let it terminate, shutting down. Okay, this is terminated. Let's go ahead and close the lab. So end lab. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, so it's deleting all the resources that it had created. And so that's it for the lab. Hope it was helpful. So thank you so much, and have a good day.